I want to know about the 8 questions to ask to eliminate signer's remorse. And very interested in hearing your steps.
Man, you're asking for all the gold today. The yeah, one of the biggest problems that we have just in life is that we sign contracts that we shouldn't have and that we're not happy with, right? That's the signer's remorse. And so there's some key questions that you can ask yourself. The first one, and this one kind of ties in kind of with what we're talking about, is you got to know what you want out of the contract. So when you're looking at a contract, and you need to have the contract if it's actually paper and a pad or something to write with, and write down the reason you want to do this deal. Why are we doing this contract? Right. So now we've got it written down. Does this contract achieve that? Now go through the contract best you can. Hey, best thing is always have a lawyer do it. But reading the contract, does this actually meet my goal? If it doesn't, walk away. This is a no. You don't do this deal. The second thing you want to do is take that thing and start looking for everywhere that it has dates. And we're going to highlight it. And I use a yellow highlighter for dates. Just to highlight all the dates. Okay. And now you look at it. Do all those dates work for me? Do they work with my schedule? Does that fit with my goal if we do those dates? Okay. If you say the dates are all good, great. The next thing is highlight the money. So every time there's a dollar sign or a dollar mentioned, highlight that in pink. Now we've gone through and you have all the dollar signs. Are the dollar signs right? Do they match up to the discussion you had before you got the written document? If all the dollars are right, then we can keep moving forward. And then the next thing you want to look at is what are my goals? What are my duties? What do I have to do in this contract? So now you're going to go through and highlight with a different color everything that I have to do. And then you have to ask yourself, can I do that? Do I want to do that? And if you can and want to, then we can move to the next step. What do they have to do? And sometimes it's just pay money, but sometimes there's other things they have to do. And so you highlight that, and then you look at that. And if that's what they have to do, am I okay with that? Does that get me to where I wanted to go at the top of my paper with my goal for this agreement? If it does, keep moving forward. The next thing you would want to ask is is there some way in this contract of resolving disputes? Every agreement I do has some sort of a alternate dispute resolution. The one that's built in is litigation, and courtrooms are only good for lawyers. I compare them to roach motels. Like once you get in, you can't get out. And so stay away from that. Put in a mediation clause so you have a way to cool off and try to solve this problem before you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars paying lawyers. Try to work this thing out with a neutral third party. So have a mediation clause in there. You might choose to have an arbitration clause, but are those in there? If there's not one, ask to have one put in it, or don't do the deal because you're going to go straight to court. And that's not a good way to do it. And then you want to look at what are the remedies in the contract would be your next thing. If I do something wrong, what do they get? Because it can say in the contract what the remedies are. And then if they do something wrong, what do I get? And then the final question you would want to ask is, how is a breach or default defined in the contract? And if you're okay with those definitions, then you've got a green light on that contract, and you could sign it. You can turn those questions around and also use them to create a contract. And there's many more than 8 questions, but if you hit those 8 areas, then you're going to be very, very close to having a contract that I would prepare, and something that hasn't missed major points, that isn't vague and ambiguous, and it's enforceable. The main thing with contracts, and why I say you should always have written contracts, because oral contracts can be enforceable in certain circumstances, not in real estate ever. But if you have a written contract, then we have a way to go back and tag a base. So if you and I, Eric, had a contract with each other to do a joint venture on a property, and you were going to go find it, and my job was to rehab it, and I had to manage the contractors and all these things. If we didn't spell that out in a written agreement, and then we got confused down the road on whose job is it to make sure that the drywall guy's getting paid. Well, I thought it was your job. No, we go back to the written document, and we can see right there who was supposed to do it, because we've written out in detail what everyone's responsibilities were. And if you don't do that, you end up, someone ends up getting called the L word, a liar. And once you go there, the relationship's over.
Yeah.
And the relationship is everything. And so by having written agreements, you can preserve relationships. You can do business with friends. You can make friends with people you're doing business with, because they know they can trust you because you're willing to put it in writing and sign it. And if it's in writing, you're going to do it. And so, one of our core values is that we mean what we say, we say what we do what we say. And if you don't, then you're going to be in breach of contract. And so if you make a contract, then you got to honor it. So be careful about what you put in those deals, because you, as a person of integrity, you've got to do what it says in there, even if it's bad for you.
Right. It sounds like, approaching it with this 8 steps helps to prevent the common saying that there's only one ship that's guaranteed to sink, and that is a partnership. And if you can approach it with that mentality, you are making it shatterproof, unsinkable, because it's in writing.
That's great. I love talking about this stuff. But it's a great way for you to review those contracts yourself, or put together a draft agreement, and then take that to your lawyer and say, okay, here's the deal. Now you let them go through it with their perspective of experience and education, and then they can make it even better. But you saved yourself some time and money because you've put together a really solid first draft of something that they can work from, or you've at least put some thought into it, so when they get it, they can already see if you've seen any problems in it, or they know that you've already said all the dates are good, all the dollars are good, it achieves my goal. Now you just make sure all the legal mumbo jumbo is right.